Chapter 78. An Old Man Fishing for Souls. Well, listen to you, sir. The reason why Chen Yiling chose Elder Du was because he could make up for his shortcomings with his experience. Other than San Qi, who didn't have any experience about the pugilistic world, the others quickly disguised themselves, leaving San Qi in a daze. Some of them looked like women, while others looked like guards. Even Chen Yiling had let her hair down and turned into the typical girl next door. Seeing San Qi in a daze, Chen Yiling smiled and said, "You don't have to pretend. Everyone thinks that you're a rich young master anyways." Out. Okay. San Qi was happy to do so. He followed Chen Yiling out of Silken City, crossed the Jin River, and went into the vast world. The group of them were acted like they were ordinary businessmen traveling on caravans, shuttling through the paths in the wilderness. After all, the countryside seemed like it was still in the feudal era. Outside the city, most of the land was barren. From time to time, bones could be seen on the road. Occasionally, they would encounter skinny humans with green eyes. The people outside seemed to be even more miserable than the people from Silken City. San Qi came to a conclusion. Silken City was very rich and the countryside outside was not as rich. After being affected by the Plague Gan War, the situation in the countryside became worse as well. He turned to look at Chen Yiling, who had disguised herself as a plain girl. "Commander Chen, how far are we from the gathering point?" "About 300 miles. It's already too late today. You all can rest for a night here. We should arrive by tomorrow." Chen Yiling tied up her hair and looked warily at the nearby wilderness. "Isn't it really easy to be ambushed outside?" "Yes. Since we are traveling as a solo group, we might be ambushed at any time. Why don't all the teams go together?" The people who thought this way died because of it. "Our main force is in the Thousand Poisons mountain range and the Sky Demon cult is full of tricks. They will deliberately send experts to ambush us." The group quietly passed through a large area of wilderness as the terrain gradually rose. Soon, it was evening. They arrived at a small town in a hilly area. There was a plague in this town and everyone had died. Then, due to a fire, more than half of the town was charred black. Ordinary people did not dare to approach the place, but cultivators like them were fined. They found a large intact courtyard to stay in for the night and began to rest. Elder Du was very experienced and specially asked a few postnatal martial artists to guard them for the night. San Qi did not need to keep watch at night. Thus he took out the light body technique and began to practice. After a while, he managed to grasp the technique fully. In the middle of the night, San Qi jumped around in his room as if he was weightless. Not bad. Changing the circulation of qi will make your body lighter and your movements faster. It was already late when he reached minor accomplishment in the light body technique. He then began to cultivate the Grand Moon visualization method and rested. In the early hours of the morning, a strange gray fog descended upon the courtyard. Not long after, San Qi, who was cultivating, suddenly felt his hair stand on end. As soon as he opened his eyes, he realized that a huge blue handprint was slapping towards him. With a loud bang, San Qi, who had been ambushed, was slapped to the ground. His entire body sank, and he was unable to get out of the sinkhole it created. On the shattered and sunken ground, San Qi was protected by a layer of golden spiritual energy. Although he suffered an extremely violent attack, it was not fatal to him yet. "Who the F***ck ambushed me?" San Qi was stunned by the ambush. He struggled to stretch out his hand and grasp the ground to get up. Swoosh! A cold light followed. With a poof, it pierced through the space between his eyebrows. "You have been killed by Dharma artifacts. Physique plus 10. You have absorbed strength from death and obtained 5 freedom attribute points. You will be resurrected in 3 seconds." At the same time, similar scenes happened elsewhere. The mist caused many people to fall asleep and be killed by the ambusher. Only a few people that were strong enough were able to resist. Unsurprisingly, the people who deliberately kept a low profile and pretended to be merchants on their way were still targeted. After killing San Qi, the person who attacked turned around expressionlessly, as if he wanted to kill the others. In the dark night, another person was laughing crazily. "Dead. Ha ha ha. He is finally dead." In the young master now, the only young master in the Great Jin Empire, San Qi jumped up from the sand pit and looked at the two people in the room with his hair, standing on end. The door had already been destroyed, and Chang Sunji, who shouldn't be here, was laughing wildly. The person who ambushed him was the extraordinary invisible shadow guard. The two of them were in a very abnormal state. The former laughed crazily in the darkness, while the latter's eyes were dazed and cold, like a walking corpse. Sanshi was a little confused. Was Chang Sunji dreaming? Impossible. The system notification had already appeared, and the description of death matched the characteristics of a foundation establishment cultivator. Currently, only existences who were a realm higher than him could cause a reward of 10 points to be obtained. When they killed him, Chang Sunji, are you sick? Sanshi could not help but speak. The latter looked over blankly and his laughter stopped abruptly. Shadow Guard, are you weak or what? Smash him to death. Chang Sunji went berserk again, daring his fangs and brandishing his claws on the spot. However, the strange thing was that his eyes were still blank and looked completely out of place with the savage expression on his face. The Shadow Guard turned around, and a cold light shot out from his side again, piercing through Sanshi's head. 3 seconds later, Sanshi stood up again and glanced at the Dharma artifact beside the man in black. The artifact was actually a silver needle. It was much thicker than ordinary needles and looked more like a nail. Its tip was very sharp. No wonder its destructive power was so strong that even his Dharma body could not withstand it. Why can't he be killed? Chang Sunji stomped his feet in anger. Continue killing him. Even in my dreams, I want to kill him. These words made Sanshi, who was at a loss, tremble. He said in disbelief, no way. Are you King sleepwalking? Sanshi felt that he had lived for a long time and had seen everything. Even though he had heard of such things before, this was the first time he had personally encountered someone who wanted to kill others while sleepwalking. This dream is quite realistic. He is actually cursing back at me. Kill him. Chang Sunji waved his hand, and the Shadow Guard once again activated his silver needles. Sanshi's palm glowed and turned into iron sand. He tried to catch the Dharma artifact with his hand, but his hand was pierced through. Then, a bloody hole appeared in his head. Kill, kill, kill. Seeing that Sanshi was still not dead, Chang Sunji whirred furiously. He could not see how far the fog spread, but in the fog, many people were killing each other crazily. As he checked the scope of damage, his pupils constricted. The people who were killing each other were all the people who had followed Wuxia's team. Taoist Du and Wuxia were both present as well. Like Chang Sunji and his Shadow Guard, their eyes were blank, but unlike Chang Sunji, they couldn't speak. As for the other people in their team, upon encountering the fog, they fell into a state of drowsiness. After being killed, their souls floated out of the pool of blood from their dead corpse into the fog. Then, the drifting souls started screaming in agony as they were sucked uncontrollably into the fog. Floating in the night sky, at the very end of the fog, there was a small gray boat that looked like it was swaying on a sea of fog. An old man in a linen robe was leisurely fishing with a fishing line. He was fishing with a fishing rod made of white bones. The fishing line was thin like a woman's hair. There was no hook, but souls were constantly pulled up by it and thrown into the fish basket beside him. He was fishing for souls. Sanshi, who was secretly investigating the situation, was shocked. In the next second, Sanshi felt a terrifying force strike him in his mind telepathically. With a bang, his soul collapsed and he started to bleed from all 7 orifices before dying.